There's a mixing technique that anyone can start using today that will help you make your mix jump out of the speakers and enhance the energy and emotion of the song. All you have to do is draw in a few lines of automation and stack a series of processors that I'm going to show you across the entirety of the mix, and voila, maximum impact. And no, it's not top-down mixing, and you don't have to run out and buy any new plugins to make this happen. It takes less than 5 minutes to set up, and you can even incorporate it into your mix template for future mixes. In this video, I'm going to show you what it is, how to use it, and give you some creative ways to implement this technique into your next mix to help you deliver mixes that stand out from the competition. I've used this technique for years across hundreds of records with billions of streams, and every time I do, I get incredible feedback from the band or artists I'm working with. So I'm excited to share this with you to help you improve your mixes right away. All right, so the first step, we're gonna talk about stereo bus volume automation, and we're here in Pro Tools, but this will work in any DAW. We're gonna go and I'm gonna show you how I've treated the final mix bus volume automation lane. And so the first thing we do is we drop the overall volume of your mix down -1 dB. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to each of the sections that we want the chorus to jump a little bit more. This is gonna enhance a good arrangement, but we wanna make it pop a little bit more. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go find all the choruses and we're gonna pull them from -1 dB back up to 0 dB. You can see here this first intro, I've got the intro swell down at -1, but then when the guitars, the drums, the bass, everything hits and it rocks, bam, we're back at 0 dB out here. We'll hit play and let you guys hear the difference of it, but just showing the technique, -1, and then when the chorus hits, we're back at 0. So we're getting 1 dB louder, which may be too much for some songs. You may just want to pull it down 0.5 dB and then go back up to 0 from 0.5 dB down. But play with it, experiment with it. That's the first step in making this work. Let's take a listen. This is the song Everything by the band Navigate. They hail from the Netherlands. My man Justin Nice, want to give a shout out to him and thank him for letting me use it and feature them in the Mix Academy. Do you want to get your hands on this song after you play it, if you like it? You want to download it, I'll put a link in the description. You can get the full set of multi-tracks, mix it for yourself, use it on your resume. Custom drum samples included, and a full mix breakdown tutorial. I break down the entire mix, not just little techniques here and there. Every single plugin, every single track, you're going to see everything that I did to deliver this mix, and then you can replicate that, beg, borrow, steal, tweak it to your taste, and then deliver your own version for your resume, your website, your portfolio, land you some clients. So here we go. We got Navigate Everything, and this is with the technique on, and then we'll go in and we'll turn it off and we'll give a little A-B. Before, stay with me because I'm going to show you how we use parallel compression to enhance the mix even more and complement this technique. So here we go. Before and after. Right on. So now let's turn this automation off. So what's going to happen here, if we zoom in on it, is there's no automation. Nothing's going to change. It's just going to go from one section to the other. I just feel let down after hearing it. You may have been thinking like, it wasn't that big of a difference. It was, right? You can feel it. Let's hear it one more time without it, and then I'll turn it back on. It's just a letdown. I feel the drums, the guitars, everything kicks in. The arrangement's done right? We have a good arrangement. We just need to help it out a little bit. And so now let's turn the automation back on, and let's hear the difference. Just jumps that little bit, man, jumps out of the speakers. I love it. And I got to give a shout out. I'm pretty sure it was Dave Pensado or Bob Horn years and years ago. I did a course with Bob over at ProMixAcademy.com. Warren Huron and I launched Pro Mix Academy. One of the early courses was Bob Horn. And I'm pretty sure he featured, if he didn't talk about this, he definitely talked about the mix A, B, and C, which I'm going to show off in a minute. But it may have been Dave Pensado then for the actual volume automation. But shout out to those guys, incredible mixers in their own right. So there we go. Now, you may be wondering, okay, you've got back up to 0. You've got the mix louder at the chorus. How do you get back down to -1 to be able to use this trick again in future choruses or the bridge or anywhere else you want this to sing? So if you come out here, you'll see we've got a little volume automation lane that takes it down. I usually have this a little more gradual, but in this case, it's a pretty quick, just back down to -1, and we're off and rolling. The next chorus, we'll be able to pull it back up. Let's take a listen to that. You'll feel it just kind of dip a little bit. But if you don't know it's there, you're not really listening for it. I mean, pretty quick, we're back down to -1. Now, I will say, if I were to do this over, I probably would have done something like this, a little more gradual. Can't even feel that. So nice gradual way to drop us off. And then just for example's sake, let's come out here and listen when we use it again is the final chorus. Now, that's step one, stereo bus volume automation. Again, any DAW, you can just go down, drop the overall mix, -1. There's times where if you have a verse and you need to pick it up a little bit before the chorus, I may go up half a dB at like the B section or the second half of the verse or even the pre-chorus before then going up to 0 for the chorus. There's one more technique that complements that before we talk about the parallel compression, and that's on my music bus. So I break out. Again, if you check out the tutorial, I'll put the link in the description. You'll see all my signal flow, how I'm doing everything. But I break out the guitars, the keys, the synths, pads, all that kind of stuff. I break out to an all music bus. So no matter how I bus guitars, if I take rhythm guitars, go to a bus and I treat them one way or whatever, all those buses for guitars, keys, synths, that kind of stuff goes to my all music bus. And from the very beginning, I already have this at like 35, sometimes more, sometimes less, stereo imaging. So I'm already kind of pushing them out to the outer edges a little bit extra. But then at the chorus, I have a second instance of ozone. And I'm pushing out, and use whatever stereo imager you want. Waves S1 is great for this as well. I'm pushing out another 25%. So with the chorus, you just heard it got louder, that 1 dB jump, but it also expanded out and got wider at the chorus. So great way to just enhance the arrangement, make it jump a little bit with some simple automation. Again, it takes just a couple of minutes to set this up, and we're off and rolling. Now we got to talk about parallel compression. So parallel compression, popular on drums, popular on vocals. I use it all the time on shakers, tambourines, where you get like that large dynamic range between the peaks and the kind of valleys of whatever instrument is happening. Great way to even out percussion. You guys have probably used it, but have you ever used it on the entire mix? Here, I'm going to show you exactly how to set it up. My mix bus, I've got the glue from Virtual Mix Bus from Steven Slate Audio, Slate Digital. I've got the BX Townhouse rocking that SSL style bus compression. We've got some EQ, but whenever I want the mix, I know that it needs that extra energy. We'll call it that extra fatness or oomph, the glue, right, from parallel compression. It's almost every other mix, if not most of the time, I'm using parallel compression. And so I want to kind of walk you through. It's a very misunderstood process. The very first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to put a bus compressor. Now keep in mind, this is going to depend on your use of stereo bus compression, how aggressive you are or can be with your parallel bus. But you'll see here I have a mix A. Let's actually put the plugins away for a minute. I have mix A, mix B, and then I used to have mix C. Mix A is my mix bus, essentially, with bus compression and EQ. Mix B is parallel compression. Mix C used to be parallel clipping, and I would use that to get the mix just screaming hot if I needed to. If a client, the label was calling for, -6, -5, whatever. That's a great way, parallel clipping. But then I ended up switching over to a technique where I use a clipper into a limiter. We'll show that maybe in another video. Drop a comment below if you want to see more, and definitely like if you haven't already. We'll cover that in another video. But clipping into limiting, just want you to understand the basic flow of my mix bus here. I consider all of this the mix bus. With that said, mix B is parallel compression. And so my first instance is, depending upon how I've compressed the mix as a whole with this first compressor up here, the first BX Townhouse that I showed you, if I've set that to a 30 microseconds or milliseconds, whatever it is, or 10, that's going to impact how I set up this next parallel compressor. But I'm sending from mix A here, you can see parallel mix. I'm sending an exact copy of this processing, this full mix here, into mix B. And that's what this first compressor is reacting to. So we've got the full mix, it's basically a duplicate of everything up here from mix A. And now we're going to grip on the mix a little bit. Sometimes it's the parallel compression, you typically want to use a faster attack, but because I've already compressed this, I've already kind of compress throughout the tracks and everything, I'm careful with the first compressor at least to make sure that it's at least at the slowest attack. I'll play with that a little bit, but the whole point of it is just start gripping on the overall mix in stages, and in this case, we've got 2 stages. So this first compressor, let's take a listen with nothing. You'll hear if I mute and pull this up, let's turn this off and put it at 0. So here's the mix just by itself, nothing affecting it. Now let's engage this first compressor on the parallel chain, mix B. So there's a volume difference there. I'm not worried about that, but you can tell it's gripping on it pretty good. It's gripping on it more than I would do on mix A, which is my stereo bus compressor. This is me trying to grip on it a little bit more, which is why you can tell I stayed with a slower attack. Auto release for the actual main bus compressor, I went with the fastest release, but this one is a little bit different treatment than your standard bus compressor. I want to grip on this in stages. I want this to be a lot of compression, but tolerable if you were to listen in solo. We don't want it to get out of hand or a bunch of artifacts. We don't want it to be super... we want to be able to use a lot of it if we need it. And so making it sound pleasing to the ear is important. So I've got a slow attack, auto release, nothing fancy here, just 4+ dB of reduction for this first compressor. Now let's come over here. You could do a different compressor for your second compressor. Often I'm adding the same compressor like I have here, and then I'll even sometimes put the API 2500 or a limiter on as my third compressor. In this case, for this song, I'd compress things so much in the mix, I didn't end up feeling like I needed to do as much on the mix B, the parallel compression here. But this one, I'm going to grip on it a little bit more, and this is going to be probably closer to like 10 dB of reduction. And so again, I'm just listening. I'll hit it hard, kind of back off and find the sweet spot. My goal here is to reduce the dynamic range substantially so that we can blend it in with the original mix and fatten it up. So let's check this out. Here's with it out, and then we'll put it in. Now you can hear my gain staging. I'm not really paying attention to that as I'm mixing. I'm just trying to get it done. But for example's sake, that's terrible because it gets louder. But if you listen closely, when I bypass both of those compressors, the kick and the snare, the vocal, listen to how they go from jumping out, standing out, to kind of being a little more balanced, right? It glues everything together, and that makes it to where we can then blend it in parallel. So let's listen with, how can we do that? I tell you what, let's put a trim tool on here. And with everything off, let's pull this back a couple dB. Let me see with it on. There we go. So bringing it back a few dB, you can hear. Let's play it with the compression, and then I'm going to turn it off, and we'll add the trim tool so that you guys can hear maybe a more even comparison. Listen for the kick, the snare, and the vocal. Just the definition, the punch of the kick and the snare, trying to rein that in a bit so we can enhance the overall mix with this parallel chain. Here's with the compressors in. So you can probably tell there that when we turn off the compression, it opens up more, which is great. We want an open mix, but for this effect, for parallel compression on the entire mix, I want to clamp down on that. So we've clamped down on it. Let's put the trim tool away. Let's put the mix back where it was. Is it going to give it to us? If we go to read, it should give it to us. Cool. And remember, that was just the parallel chain by itself. We had mix A, our main mix is muted. So now let's come in here and let's hear the mix. I'm going to have mix B, parallel compression in, and then I'm going to mute it, and you're going to hear it. The mix opens up, but it just kind of falls. It's kind of, I don't know, takes a step back, lose a little bit of the energy, the aggression of the mix. And for my enjoyment, I'm going to crank my headphones a little bit. So here we go. Here's with mix B, parallel compression, in with the overall mix.
I stay
right on. So it's not bad either way. If you're, triggered by the loudness wars and all of that, you may not like to have, parallel compression, or you may use less of it, by all means. But it's about the technique and hopefully giving you the tools to be able to enhance the overall loudness of the mix, but also energy. You use a compressor for more than just evening out dynamics of a vocal. You can give it that spitty vibe, that energy, the emotion to convey, an aggressive vocal and that kind of stuff. So more to compression than just making something squashed. So hopefully you dig that, but that's not it. So what happens when you have a song, you have an arrangement where the, like we showed before, the guitars, the drums, everything came in raging at the chorus, but that energy lift that we gave with the 1 dB and the width helped it out. What happens when that's not enough and you're at 0? Like we are here. We're at 0 for this last chorus. There's nowhere to go, right? Wrong. We've got this parallel chain that now with that extra energy, we're fattening it up. But then if you look out here, there's a part in the song where I need it even more. And so what I did is I went to the automation lane and I just increased the amount of the parallel that I was using at the chorus. I'll stop this a little rabbit trail. If we look at my vocal chain up here, we go to the lead vocal crush right here, and you'll see I've got varying amounts of parallel compression on the vocal throughout the song. I'm matching the energy. Sometimes in an empty verse, I may not need as much. If you want to see more about the vocal chain, definitely comment below and let me know, hey, let's do the vocal chain video, and I'll make sure to record it featuring this song, and I'll show you how I'm using vocal parallel compression different in the different parts of the song. But this is that in a nutshell. This is me taking that technique and just more simple. It's just at one section of the song. I'm giving a lift to the last chorus where it otherwise just kind of fell flat. Again, we just want to take the song to that next level. This is the last chorus. I think it goes to a halftime groove. We really just want to bring out the energy, the emotion of the ending of the song. Let's listen. I've turned off this volume boost, and I'm actually going to enhance it a little bit so you can really hear it. Here's a couple more dB for you. You won't hear that now. This is just it continuing. So this is a parallel compression, the overall mix, and it's just going to ride out. And then I'm going to go and we'll play with the automation on, showing how that extra lift with the parallel brings some energy to the song, to the ending. Here we go.
Worry about the sense that you're making everything. I still remember everything. Why don't you feel me now?
No, man, it just feels like it falls down, and that's not at all what we want for that last part of the song. We need a lift. And shout out to my man Justin Neist. He's the producer and father of the guitar player Julian. Incredible job on the record, producing, recording, all kinds of stuff he did for it. Moral support, financial support. Give a shout out to him. He actually inspired this technique. One of the mixes we did, we got to the end and I'd done the stereo bus automation, I'd done the extra width, and he was like, man, it doesn't take me over the edge for the final chorus on a different song. And this technique was born, and I started using it anytime. It's not something I use every mix, but when you hear that you need an extra, go to one more rung up on the ladder, is a great way to do it. So now let's listen. Here, I'll go a little closer. One more time without it, and then I'll turn it on. Just kind of keeps going. So now let's turn it on.
Everything. Why don't you feel me now? Why don't you feel me? Everything. Why don't you feel me now?
Yeah, man. So it's one thing to fatten it up, give it that extra energy and emotion. It's a whole nother to then take that and automate it up at different sections of the song. There's no rules. You can come in here and maybe do that for the chorus if you need a little extra from the chorus. For me, it just made sense for that last chorus, that last halftime beat, to just have the maximum impact, like I said at the beginning. And there it is. So there you have it. Some stereo bus automation, volume automation. We've got parallel compression automation, stereo imaging automation. Simple things that once you get the hang of it, it could take you a matter of 2 or 3 minutes to set that up, go throughout the chorus, drag them up. You've got a great thing going, and it's going to help you stand out in your next mix. Hey, don't forget, if you want to get your hands on this song, the Multitracks, the tutorials, download it, mix it for yourself, follow along, learn exactly what I'm doing, tweak it to your taste, release your own version on your website, promote your mixing services. We've also got some custom drum samples for this one. Definitely check out the link in the description below. I'll also pin the first comment so you can catch that. And all of the funds from this are going to my medical fundraiser. We found a cyst in my brain. I'm trying to get to the neurologist. Greatly appreciate your help, your support, and we'll see you on the next one.